Hello everyone and welcome back to Learn English by Stories. Today I want to tell you a very special story about the Middle East. This is not only a story about wars or kings. This is a story about how human life began to change forever. Long ago, before modern cities and technology, people lived very simple lives. They moved from place to place and searched for food every day. Life was difficult and uncertain during those early times. Thousands of years ago, in a land called Mesopotamia, something very important happened. Mesopotamia was located between two great rivers called the Tigris and the Euphrates. These rivers gave fresh water to the people who lived nearby. Water made the land good for farming and growing crops. Because of the rivers, people could stay in one place instead of moving all the time. This change was very important for human history. When people started farming, their lives slowly became more stable. They planted seeds and waited for food to grow. They built small houses from mud and clay near the rivers. Villages began to form, and those villages slowly grew into cities. One of the first great civilizations in this area was the Sumerians. The Sumerians were creative and intelligent people who changed the world in many ways. The Sumerians created one of the first writing systems in history. Before writing existed, people could only share stories by speaking. Spoken words can disappear over time, but written words can stay forever. The Sumerians used small marks on clay tablets to record information. This writing system was called cuneiform. Because of writing, people could record business deals, laws, and important events. Writing helped humans build more organized societies. Religion was also very important in Mesopotamia. People believed that many gods controlled nature and daily life. They built large temples called ziggurats to honor their gods. These temples stood tall above the cities and showed the power of religion. People prayed for rain, healthy crops, and protection from danger. Life was still hard, but people felt hope through their faith and community. Later, a powerful city named Babylon became famous in the region. Babylon was part of the Babylonian Empire. A strong king named Hammurabi ruled this empire. King Hammurabi created one of the first written law codes in history. These laws were carved into a large stone so everyone could see them. The idea behind these laws was simple but powerful. Rules should apply to all people, and justice should be clear. This idea helped shape future legal systems around the world. At the same time, another great civilization was growing near the Nile River in ancient Egypt. Egypt became famous for its pyramids and strong rulers called pharaohs. The pyramids still stand today and show the amazing skills of ancient builders. Trade connected Egypt and Mesopotamia with other regions. Goods, ideas, and culture moved from one place to another. The Middle East became a center of learning and exchange. Many centuries later, the powerful Persian Empire ruled a very large area across different continents. The Persian leaders allowed many cultures and religions to live together peacefully. They built strong roads and systems to manage their lands. This made trade and communication easier across the empire. Their rule showed that different groups of people could live under one government. Then a young conqueror named Alexander the Great came from Greece with his army. He defeated the Persian Empire and took control of much of the region. However, he did not destroy everything he saw. Instead, Greek culture mixed with Middle Eastern culture. This created new ideas in art, science, and philosophy. The region continued to grow and change through cultural exchange. The Middle East became a bridge between continents. It connected Asia, Africa, and Europe through trade and travel. Merchants carried silk, spices, gold, and knowledge across long distances. People shared stories and beliefs that shaped future generations. This land was not only a place of conflict, it was also a place of creativity, growth, and connection. When we look back at this history, we see more than ancient buildings or old laws. We see the beginning of cities, writing, and organized society. We see ordinary people who worked hard and dreamed of better lives. The Middle East was one of the first places where human civilization truly began to shine. This is only the first chapter of a long and powerful story. In the next part, we will explore how faith and religion shaped this region and influenced the entire world. The birth of faith. In the beginning, people in the Middle East worked hard to build cities and grow crops. Life was not easy, but people learned to live together. They traded goods, shared ideas, and created rules to make life fair. Over time, something even more powerful began to shape their lives. This was faith. Faith gave people hope when life was difficult. It guided them through fear, hunger, and danger. The Middle East became the birthplace of some of the world's most important religions. These religions influenced not only local people, but also generations far away. Long ago in this land, a man named Abraham became very important. He believed in one God and taught others to trust in God. His faith became the foundation of Judaism. The Jewish people faced many struggles. They were forced to leave their homes, live in foreign lands, and face difficult challenges. Yet they never gave up on their beliefs. Stories from their history, including Moses leading his people and the Ten Commandments, helped guide them. Faith gave them strength when everything around them seemed uncertain. Hundreds of years later, another religion appeared in the region. In a small town called Bethlehem, a man named Jesus was born. People believed he had a special connection with God. He taught love, kindness, and forgiveness. His words inspired many people, and Christianity began to spread across the Middle East and beyond. Even though Jesus faced hardship, including rejection and danger, his message gave hope to millions. People started communities, built churches, and shared his teachings with others. Faith became a central part of life for many families. At the same time, a new religion appeared in the Arabian Peninsula. Muhammad, a prophet, received messages that became the foundation of Islam. Islam taught people to follow one God, to help others, and to live in peace. Communities formed around these teachings, and the message of Islam spread quickly across the region. Faith was not just about religion. It shaped daily life, government, trade, and even art. Beautiful mosques, prayers, and holy books showed how much people valued their beliefs. Religion also created connections and conflicts. People from different faiths sometimes fought, but they also learned from each other. Trade routes, markets, and cities allowed ideas to spread. Scholars studied medicine, astronomy, and mathematics. Inspired by their religious values, faith encouraged education, compassion, and creativity. The Middle East became a center where knowledge and spirituality grew together. Even today, the impact of these religions is visible. Holy cities like Jerusalem, Mecca, and Medina are visited by millions of people. Ancient texts, stories, and traditions continue to influence how people live. Faith gave people hope, identity, and community. It was not always easy. Wars, invasions, and struggles threatened communities, but the strength of belief kept them united and resilient. Without faith, the history of this region would be very different. Looking back, we see that faith is more than rituals or temples. It is a force that shaped human behavior, government, and culture. It taught people patience, compassion, and courage. Families passed stories from generation to generation. These stories inspired people to survive and to dream of a better life. Religion and faith became the invisible threads that connected thousands of years of Middle Eastern history. Empires and trade. After the rise of faith in the Middle East, powerful empires began to appear. Kings and rulers wanted to control the land, the cities, and the trade routes. One of the first great empires was the Babylonian Empire. The Babylonians built strong cities and created laws to keep order. They were also famous for their art, gardens, and learning. People traveled from far away to visit Babylon and see its beauty. Life was difficult for ordinary people, but the empire brought structure and safety to many communities. Later, the Persian Empire became very large and powerful. The Persians ruled a huge area, including modern-day Iran, Iraq, and parts of Turkey. They were known for fairness, good roads, and trade. Merchants could travel safely and sell goods like spices, silk, and gold. The Persian kings respected different religions and cultures in their empire. This made the empire strong because people felt included. The Middle East became a center for trade, culture, and learning. Cities like Persepolis and Babylon were filled with markets, temples, and scholars. Trade also connected the Middle East to other parts of the world. Caravans carried goods across deserts. Ships sailed on rivers and seas, bringing wealth and ideas. People exchanged not only goods, but also knowledge. They learned about astronomy, medicine, and mathematics from different cultures. The Middle East became a place where ideas mixed. Artists painted, scholars wrote books, and builders created impressive buildings. Life was full of movement, opportunity, and discovery. However, trade and wealth also caused conflict. Neighboring kingdoms often fought for control of important cities and routes. Armies marched across deserts, rivers, and mountains. Some battles were short, but others lasted many years. Despite the wars, cities continued to grow. Markets remained busy, and knowledge continued to spread. People learned that survival required both strength and wisdom. Empires rose and fell, but the land remained a place where culture and history thrived. One of the most famous civilizations in the Middle East was the Egyptian Empire. Although Egypt is in the northeast of Africa, it was connected to the Middle East through trade and culture. The Egyptians built pyramids, temples, and canals. They wrote on papyrus, studied stars, and developed advanced medicine. Pharaohs ruled with great power, but religion was always part of their lives. Gods and goddesses were everywhere, guiding people's actions and protecting the land. Egypt influenced neighboring regions with its art, knowledge, and architecture. Later, Greek and Roman influence reached parts of the Middle East. Alexander the Great conquered many lands, spreading Greek language, culture, and ideas. Cities like Alexandria became centers of learning and trade. Roman rule brought roads, aqueducts, and law. People from many different cultures lived together in these cities. They shared knowledge, traded goods, and celebrated festivals. Even during wars, life in some cities was vibrant. The Middle East became a crossroads of civilization where different peoples, religions, and ideas mixed together. Despite these empires and trade, life was not always easy. Farmers, workers, and families often faced hunger, disease, and uncertainty. Wars, droughts, and invasions could change lives in a moment. Yet, people always rebuilt, learned, and continued to live. Culture, religion, and knowledge were passed from generation to generation. Each empire added something new to the land. Stories, laws, and inventions survived long after kings and rulers were gone. The Middle East became a land of history, learning, and resilience, and its influence reached far beyond its borders. The rise of Islam and new empires. After the fall of many empires, a new force changed the Middle East forever. A man named Muhammad was born in Mecca. He taught that there is only one God and that people should live with kindness, honesty, and fairness. His teachings quickly spread across the Arabian Peninsula. Many people joined him, forming a strong community. Islam gave people hope and a clear way to live even during times of hardship. It connected families, tribes, and cities through shared faith and values. Muhammad's followers faced challenges including conflict with leaders who did not accept his teachings. They were often in danger, but they remained faithful and united. After Muhammad's death, his followers continued to spread Islam across the Middle East and beyond. They created new empires that respected law, religion, and learning. The Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates became powerful centers of culture and knowledge. Cities like Baghdad and Damascus became famous for their libraries, schools, and trade markets. Scholars, artists, and inventors from different cultures worked together, creating one of the most vibrant periods in Middle Eastern history. Trade and travel continued to play a key role. Caravans crossed deserts carrying spices, silk, and books. Merchants from Europe, Africa, and Asia brought new ideas and goods. Markets were full of people speaking different languages, sharing stories, and selling beautiful items. Knowledge about mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and architecture grew rapidly. Middle Eastern scholars preserved ancient Greek and Roman texts, and they added new discoveries. Their work influenced not only their own people, but also Europe and the wider world. Faith and education became strongly connected. Despite these achievements, conflicts did not stop. Neighboring kingdoms and empires often fought over land, water, and trade routes. Battles sometimes lasted many years. Families lost homes, cities were destroyed, and communities suffered. Yet, people rebuilt, creating stronger walls, roads, and cities. They continued to trade, teach, and innovate. The Middle East became a land of resilience where history, culture, and faith survived wars and change. Religion and politics were deeply connected. Leaders used faith to unite people, guide justice, and maintain order. At the same time, people found personal meaning in prayer, pilgrimage, and worship. Cities like Mecca and Medina became centers of devotion, attracting travelers from distant lands. Pilgrims shared stories, news, and ideas as they visited. Faith inspired art, music, poetry, and architecture. Mosques and palaces were built with beauty and care. The Middle East became known as a place where religion, culture, and knowledge existed together in harmony. Even ordinary people contributed to history. Farmers, merchants, teachers, and craftsmen all played important roles. They preserved traditions, passed down knowledge, and kept communities alive. Children learned stories from parents and families, shared lessons about honor, courage, and faith. Life was not easy, but faith and community gave people hope. People celebrated holidays, performed rituals, and built schools. These traditions strengthened identity and helped people survive difficult times. The Middle East became a land full of stories, hope, and learning, outside powers and conflicts. As centuries passed, new powers began to influence the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire grew strong, controlling much of the region. The Ottomans ruled with strict laws, but also encouraged trade and learning. Cities like Istanbul became centers of art, culture, and commerce. Merchants traveled across seas and deserts selling spices, fabrics, and metals. Despite strong rule, life was not easy for everyone. Ordinary people had to work hard to feed their families and pay taxes. Yet, many found safety and opportunity in the cities under Ottoman control. At the same time, European nations started to show interest in the Middle East. Countries like Britain, France, and Italy wanted control of trade routes, oil, and land. They signed agreements with local rulers and sometimes sent armies. These interactions caused both progress and conflict. Railroads, ports, and new cities were built, but tensions grew between foreign powers and local populations. People began to resist, fighting to protect their land and culture. The Middle East became a place of opportunity, but also danger as empires and nations struggled for control. Oil discoveries in this early 20th century changed the region even more. Suddenly, lands that were quiet for centuries became very valuable. Foreign companies came to extract oil. Wealth grew for some, but ordinary people often remained poor. Cities developed quickly and life changed for many families. Roads, schools, and hospitals were built, but the influence of outside powers created tension. People wanted freedom and independence, but external pressure made peace difficult. Conflicts over land, religion, and resources began to rise, shaping the history of the Middle East. The two world wars also affected the region. Many soldiers from the Middle East fought in Europe and Africa. Borders were drawn and redrawn by foreign governments. Countries like Iraq, Syria, and Jordan were created from old empires. People had to adjust to new rulers, laws, and borders. Some communities were divided, while others were forced to cooperate. Despite these changes, people continued to trade, farm, and practice faith. Cities remained busy, markets full, and families resilient. The Middle East survived hardship, and its history grew richer with each challenge. Even today, the legacy of these empires and conflicts can be seen. Traditions, language, and culture survived despite wars and occupation. Families kept their stories, art, and customs alive. Children learned about faith, history, and courage from elders. People celebrated festivals, built homes, and taught new generations about honor and survival. Trade and knowledge continued to spread, connecting the Middle East with the rest of the world. Life remained challenging, but hope, culture, and faith always endured. History shows that the Middle East has always been strong, creative, and resilient, even in difficult times. Modern challenges and hope. In the 20th century, the Middle East faced even greater changes. Many countries gained independence after long years of colonial rule. People celebrated freedom, but new challenges appeared. Borders drawn by outsiders sometimes divided families and communities. Leaders worked to build nations, but political conflicts and wars made life difficult. Ordinary people often suffered the most. Families lost homes, farms, and loved ones. Cities were damaged and markets struggled to survive. Still, people continued to work, care for children, and hope for a better future. Oil remained very important, and countries that had it became central to global politics. Wealth and power grew in some regions, but not all families benefited equally. People argued over resources, land, and leadership. Some protests became conflicts, and disagreements turned into wars. Many people had to leave their homes to stay safe. Refugee camps grew, and families faced hunger, sickness, and fear. Children had to learn and play under difficult conditions. Even in these hardships, families stayed together and tried to protect one another. Community and faith became a source of strength. Religious and ethnic diversity shaped life in the Middle East. Different groups often lived close together, sharing markets, schools, and streets. Sometimes they worked together in peace, but misunderstandings and old disputes could cause violence. Leaders and citizens tried to create laws to protect everyone. Some countries succeeded while others struggled. Ordinary people wanted only to live safely and care for their families. Women, men, and children showed courage every day. They rebuilt homes, started schools, and kept traditions alive despite danger. Technology and education brought hope. New schools, universities, and hospitals improved life. Children learned reading, writing, and science. Doctors treated patients better, and farmers used new tools. Cities became busier, and trade with other countries increased. Young people traveled, shared ideas, and started businesses. People dreamed of peace, good jobs, and safe homes. They remembered history, knowing that the past taught lessons about strength, resilience, and cooperation. Even with conflict, hope grew in the hearts of ordinary people. Families continued festivals, prayers, and celebrations. Music, dance, and art thrived in towns and cities. People shared stories of courage, love, and survival. They helped neighbors, supported schools, and created markets for small businesses. Children laughed, learned, and played, despite fear outside. Communities remembered that life could be beautiful even in difficult times. The Middle East remained a land of stories, courage, and hope, where history and culture lived strongly, teaching future generations to survive, rebuild, and dream. The present and lessons for the future. Today, in 2026, the Middle East faces new challenges. Conflicts continue to escalate, and many countries struggle with war and political tension. Families live in fear as bombs fall and cities are damaged. People lose homes, jobs, and loved ones. Children cannot go to school safely, and mothers and fathers work hard to protect their families. Even in these hard times, ordinary people show courage. Neighbors help each other. Doctors care for the sick, and teachers try to continue education in safe places. Life is difficult, but people continue to hope. The modern wars remind everyone of the lessons of history. Empires, foreign powers, and local conflicts have always shaped the region. Each generation experiences challenges, but each generation also learns to survive. People remember the past, stories of courage and the strength of family and community. They rebuild homes, support neighbors, and teach children to respect culture and traditions. Ordinary people understand that hope and action are stronger than fear. Even in destruction, kindness and courage survive. Technology, communication, and education give hope for the future. Young people use computers and phones to connect with the world. They learn new skills, share ideas, and help communities. Humanitarian organizations provide aid, food, and medicine to those in need. Women and men continue to start businesses, grow farms, and rebuild schools. Despite war and loss, people continue to plan for a better future. They dream of peace, safety, and opportunities for their children. History teaches us that the Middle East has always faced challenges, yet it survives. Generations remember their stories, celebrate their culture, and hope for a better life. Ordinary people are the heart of this region. They continue to love, work, and protect their families. Even in war, they keep traditions alive, celebrate festivals, and teach children about faith, courage, and resilience. Their lives remind us that hope is never lost, even when everything seems broken. Thank you for listening to this story about Middle Eastern history. If you enjoyed learning with me, hit the subscribe button on Learn English by Stories and click the notification bell. Leave a comment to tell me where you are listening from and what part of history touched you the most. Share this story with friends who love learning English through real emotional stories.